Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 18 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Gio Epe. Happy birthday! And George has been watching us forever and we are so thankful for your support throughout the years. And guess what? He's rooting for Davon. Alright, so thanks again for supporting us, and if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Okay, so quick recap of what happened yesterday. Michelle did not use the power of veto, which means that Frank and Bridget are still up on the block, and there was some other crazy stuff. The twist is going on right now. Seriously, I thought the Big Brother was just going to let them figure it out for themselves, but they popped those clues up on the screen and everybody was going crazy trying to figure it out. So, Paul was the first one to enter the secret Paris room, and you know, after a little while, everybody ended up getting a card from the room. But only one is a round-trip ticket, so only one person will be able to re-enter the house. And you can't open it until eviction. So we don't know who has it. Also, this could be fixed. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. If you guys want to hear more about it, make sure you watch yesterday's spoiler because I went into more detail about the rules and everything. Alright, there's a lot of animal activity right here. It's very distracting. So anyway, it was interesting to see the fallout from this twist discovery because there were some hurt feelings about how the whole thing went down and mixed emotions all around. So first of all, Paulie was pretty pissed because he's just like, alright, I mean, obviously they're trying to get Frank to come back, right? Because it's pretty clear that Frank is going home this week and you know, they just so happened to clue the house guests in after the power veto ceremony. It's a little convenient, don't you think? But anyway, Paulie's like, if Frank is evicted this week and then comes back, like, we should all open up our cards and see, like, if it was fixed and if somebody still has, like, the round trip one, meaning that they switched out Frank so that he would come back, you know what I mean? And then, you know what? They cut immediately to Fish when Paulie starts talking about that. Don't be talking about no production conspiracies in there. So then, people were also upset that they were not woken up immediately to start, you know, trying to figure out the clues. That was mainly, like, Day, Zakiya, and Michelle. They were pissed that people weren't... Actually, Michelle wasn't really that pissed. She was just like, whatever, somebody else figure it out. But the other girls were a little pissed. And then some people were angry with Paul. First of all, he did not share the code with his allies because he didn't want Frank and Bridget to get it. That was his explanation anyway. He was like, I was gonna tell you. And then some people were like, why the hell, if you didn't want Frank and Bridget to get it, why the hell did you go for it, go through that tunnel and everything, while other people were watching? Like, why wouldn't you wait until nobody else was around, go back at like freaking 3 in the morning and do it? First of all, everybody's still awake at 3. But anyway, he was like, I couldn't do that because Bridget was really close to solving it too, and he didn't know what was going to be in that room, so he was like, what if it's a freaking diamond POV and only one person can get it? So he was like, I gotta get in there, I gotta get it before anyone else can. So that was his explanation for that. And I'm telling you guys, they went back and forth on this crap and rehashed it over and over and over again last night. It was exhausting. But anyway, Nicole was so upset that Corey did not share the code with her immediately or at all. She was like, Natalie told James and Victor had to punch in the code for me. Even after they told her the code, she still had to get somebody else to punch it in for her, and so did Michelle. What? Yeah. So apparently too, she made a big scene about it. She was just like, thanks, Victor. So that Corey would be like, alright. So Corey was just like, I didn't want to tell you in front of everyone. Like, people would have been mad about that. Plus, he wasn't sure if the guys wanted him to tell her. I guess it's a real bros before situation. I mean, if I was Nicole, that's like red flag after red flag after red flag. But then again, I wouldn't use Big Brother as a dating show. But, okay. So then she's like, if I was in your position, like, and I got the code, I would have pulled you aside immediately. And he starts getting annoyed that she's mad at him. So he's, like, turning it around. And he's like, you were acting like a freaking brat earlier, and it was pissing me off. So she keeps saying that she's over it, but then she keeps bringing it up again. We're going to come back to that because you know it's not over. All right, but in the meantime, remember how yesterday Michelle and Bridget had that whole spat and they were talking about how they've both been talking crap about each other, but they haven't been, but they have. Well, Michelle and Bridget were both in the kitchen yesterday, and there were a bunch of other people around too, but Michelle goes over to her and she's just like, I just want to let you know that, like, I'm not going to be talking about you anymore because I was in the diary room and, yeah, I just don't want you to think that I'm attacking you, and I don't want people at home to think I'm attacking you. So obviously she's found out from the diary room that, like, maybe she's not being portrayed in the most positive of lights. So she doesn't want to be, like, a season 15 person who sucks. So, I mean, because she was talking about it later and she was just like, I don't want to be like season 15. So I think that's really why she's apologizing to Bridget. She's not sorry, she just doesn't want to look like a bitch on TV. So then she walks off crying. Bridget doesn't really say anything back to her, but she walks away. And Frank pulls her into the storage room and he's just like, what's wrong, girl? What's wrong? And she's like, oh, well, I don't want to be portrayed as this mean girl. So she's like crying to Frank, and then she starts straight up like sobbing, like like that. And she starts saying too how she feels really bad that Frank is going home this week, and she also feels bad because she broke his trust by sharing information that he told her, specifically about the vets being paid differently than the newbies. They're not getting the weekly stipend that the newbies are getting. So she feels really bad about that because it got back to him and he was pissed. And she's also like, and I wanted to hang out with you and Jerry. So he's just like, you know what, it's fine, I don't care that all this info's out there, I'm going home anyway. But he is like, you know what, you should take that as a sign that you should not be trusting people, because this information that you put out there then got back to me. So, you know, people are spreading around info. So then Day and Zakiya also go in there. They're trying to calm her down. They're just like, oh, you're not a mean person, no, you just gotta give Bridget some time, she'll come around. Yeah, so anyway, Michelle eventually moves her crying to the have-not room, and people go in and check on her. Paul was one of those people. He goes in to comfort her. I gotta say, like, remember when we hated Paul the first week, and then we were like, oh, he's alright, like the second week and a few weeks after that? Well, he kind of sucks again now. It's, you know, he's feeling safe, and he's kind of turning into a jerk again, and it's not cool, and it's not fun to watch. But he tells Michelle, like, Bridget was the one in the wrong, and he's saying once Frank is gone, he's gonna call Bridget out on her crap. Yes, wait until she's all alone and then freaking tear her down even more. But he wants to taunt her and make her last week in the house hell. Really big of you, man. Friendship. Friendship. So, yeah. Then Paulie and Zakiya were having a game chat, and Zakiya brings up some suspicions that she's been having about Nicole. She's like, Nicole's been acting really sketchy lately. Also, Frank came up to her and told her not to trust Nicole. And Zakiya's like, she's feeling really hurt by this because she really thought she could trust Nicole, but like all of this stuff is coming out and she's not sure if Nicole has her best interests in mind. So Paulie's like, well, do you think I should talk to Corey about it? Of course, that's his answer. And Zakiya's like, I don't know, maybe not yet. And Paulie's like, well, we shouldn't believe anything that Frank says anyway. So then Paulie, I don't know why, I guess, well, I do know why. Paulie is always so quick to protect Nicole because Nicole was on Cody's season, so they have like that bond. But Paulie tries to put the target back onto Day. He's like, I'm more worried about Day than Nicole right now. So then Paul joins them, and he brings up that he's really pissed at Natalie and Victor because they were like really loud during the whole figuring out the twist thing. And he's like, they're the reason that Frank and Bridget were able to get in there and get envelopes because they were passing out the code and whatever, and they kept bothering me about it. So he's like, they've got to go. But Victor's your boy. So then he was saying, yeah, if I get HOH next week, I'll put up Bridget and Natalie. And he was also saying that he's annoyed that Natalie was encouraging Bridget and Michelle to make up and mend fences. And again, I say, friendship. I can't believe he's getting mad that she's trying to encourage people to be nice to each other. But anyway, Nicole and Corey, the whole code gate is not over yet. So Nicole's like, I just want to let you know, like, I'm not upset about it, but you could have just told me. So she just cannot let it go. And then she's saying that she's just having a really bad day because of that. And then people are all mad at her because she didn't wake them up to figure out the clues. And also Frank has been going around telling people not to trust her. So it's just like all adding up. And it's too much for her right now. So then she's talking about how she feels like Victor is trying to drive a wedge between her and Corey. Which is kind of funny, because it almost seems like he is. There's like something really weird going on there where like Victor is always jumping on them when they're in bed together and like jumping on top of them and like, I don't know, he's making all these weird comments. Like I think he's just joking around, but in a way it is almost like he's trying to split them up. But I'm not sure if he's trying to get closer to Nicole or Corey. I'm kind of leaning towards Corey. And it doesn't look like Corey's pushing him away. I think Corey's having a lot of fun with Victor. But anyway, yeah, there's something weird going on there. So then, last night there was also some Paul and Polly pillow talk. So many P's. They've even started calling themselves PP. I'm not kidding. Okay, but this talk was so obnoxious. At one point, Paul was like, oh, we're in such a good spot right now. Everybody's looking at us like we're effing saviors, bro. Jose the Messiah much? Stop. Okay. So then, you know, obviously they have everything planned out. It's all wrapped up. They've got this thing figured out. So, like, we should just stop even watching and playing the game because they're going to win. But anyway, they're talking about their eviction order. They want to get rid of Frank this week, Bridget next week, and then Davon, and then Victor, and then they can just crush all the girls, and it's guys to the end. But then Polly is like, you know what, I know I was saying that I was going to put up Zakiya with Day at some point, but Zakiya's a pretty cool chick, like, we could keep her around to be the last girl. And Paul's like, yeah, she's cool as shit, bro. So, I mean, that's a real turnaround. So then, Paul was like, I'm going to punch Bridget in the face if Frank is evicted and then comes back this week. Friendship! What the frig, man? Okay. So then the Nicole saga is not over. She was freaking out yet again last night because Corey came out of the diary room and said that they were asking him about his fight with Nicole, and she was upset because she doesn't want that to be on the show, and she doesn't want people to see him calling her a freaking brat. So then she starts crying because she also doesn't want to look like a snake on TV. We know that Frank is going around telling everyone not to trust her. Guess what, Nicole? You've been looking like a snake all season. You've been anacondaing your way through this season. But Corey's telling her it's all good. Like, freaking stop crying. Okay, so last night also, James and Natalie were chilling out in the Paris room. It was kind of cute, and James is like, we should just hide in here all day tomorrow and freak everybody out. You do that. I mean, people were hanging out in there a lot today, too, just, like, intermittently, but I think they ended up closing it after a while. Like, you could still dial the code and get the message, but then they weren't letting people in there anymore. So this morning, Day and Zakiya were comparing notes, and they were like, you know what? Nicole is acting really weird, and they're freaking pissed that she did not wake them up to try to figure out the twist. And this is like a huge warning sign for them. They're just like, I guess all of her people that she really cares about were already awake, so she wasn't worried about waking us up. They realize that her loyalties lie elsewhere. Yeah. So then they were like, you know, maybe we should hold back on really talking to Paulie about this because he's so freaking close to Corey. That's dangerous right there. So they're going to try. I mean, we already saw Zakiya talking to Paulie about it, but they don't want to really talk about it yet. Okay. So then a little while later, Day was talking to the camera all by herself, and she gives us her eviction order. She wants Frank to go this week, Bridget next week, and then she says she's going for Nicole. I'm honestly surprised that she hasn't, you know, this is the first that we're hearing this, because she could have been saying that weeks ago with all the stuff that was coming back to her that Nicole spread around. But anyway, she said if Bridget wins HOH, then she'll try to get rid of Nicole next week. Wow. That would be crazy. So in other news, James got the HOH camera today. Fun times. And then Nicole and Zakiya had a chat in the HOH room, and Nicole was telling her all about her no good, horrible, bad day yesterday and how it was just the worst day ever. And she was trying to figure out like why Frank is spreading all this stuff about her now. And she's saying that Frank is like blaming her for Day staying last week. She's saying that it was like all on her. And that's also why he's on the block this week. So she's like, that's why Frank's mad at me. She was also big time downplaying how much she's been working with Frank. She was saying that she only worked with him the first week, and then Frank was just throwing her under the bus since week 2. But like, what? So then Zakiya brings up that Day has been talking to her more lately. We've seen like they kind of drifted apart for a while, but now that they have this common suspicion about Nicole, we're gonna see Day and Zakiya starting to move together again. But Zakiya's just like, oh, I don't trust Day right now, but like maybe we'll get to that point. I don't know. But I think it's interesting and important to note that Zakiya did not tell Nicole that her and Day were talking about her. Because, you know, I would expect Zakiya to be like, yeah, Day said that she doesn't trust you. But she didn't say that. So maybe she's trusting Day a little bit more than Nicole at this point. I don't know. But other than that today, it was a pretty slow day. Paul was going on and on and on about his beard and like beard care and tattoos. Nicole was doing her like Nicole hair salon with Corey and Victor. And we're only 2 days away from the eviction. Yay! So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. Who do you think Zakiya trusts more, Day or Nicole? And do you think that Paulie will ever try to get rid of Nicole? Let me know. And until tomorrow, much love.